When we take a look at what we heard from Cassie today, anything that's earth-shattering that we may not have known?
I think most of what she said actually mirrors her lawsuit. So a lot of her testimony was expected. The big difference is it's no longer words on paper. It's a live human being standing in front of a jury testifying. And quite frankly, it was very compelling testimony. I would say today you have to count as a win for the feds.
And of course, this is the first time they are face to face since 2018 when they parted ways. And now she is pregnant on the stand.
Yes. And you know, a prosecutor wants to have their star witness, and I think Cassie Ventura classifies as that. This is an attractive young woman who's 8 months pregnant. She's getting there on the stand, and in some parts of her testimony, she's crying, right? And so for the male jurors, they're gonna wanna protect her when they see that. For the female jurors, they wanna go give her a hug, you know? So it definitely creates that emotion that the prosecutors are looking for to secure a conviction.
And one of the things she said, and yesterday you mentioned that what may be key is that she said she paid for at least one of the so-called sex sessions, but she's saying now it was like a job to do that, meaning she may have gotten the money from him. Does that make a difference?
It does make a difference how you classify it and how credible you take her testimony. She's saying that she was asked by Diddy to do these things and instructed by Diddy to do these things. And when you're talking about conspiracy, then you can say that Diddy is working along with Cassie to procure prostitutes across state lines. So in that regards, if you take her testimony as truth, then yeah, that certainly cuts in favor for the federal prosecutor's case.
As a prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney, are they proving their case, the prosecutors in this case right now? Obviously, this is a federal court case, and of course, we won't get to see inside of the courtroom, but do you feel like the feds are proving their case with Diddy?
Right now, yes. There's an old proverb that says, the person who speaks first in trial seems correct until the cross-examination begins. So I'm really curious to see how the defense attorneys are going to attack this case with their cross-examination. There were two things that kind of came up in testimony. She stated that she wanted to engage in these freak-offs because she loved Diddy, because she wanted to make Diddy happy. And I think that's something that the defense attorneys can highlight and say, you weren't coerced. You did this because you were in a relationship and you wanted to please your man. And so I think if they hammer away at that, and then secondly, delineate between the domestic violence abuse and the sex acts with the prostitutes and say, hey, yes, he was engaging in these domestic violence cases, but that was just his general demeanor. It wasn't specifically tied to her having having sex with male escorts. And so if that is the case, if they can bring that up through cross-examination, they can introduce their defensive theory that while he is a very abusive man, it doesn't mean that he actually coerced her or threatened her to have sex with these male escorts.
And for those who may not have saw you yesterday here on The Factor talking about that video that has been shown over and over again, what are the prosecutors trying to prove with that? Because you have said, we acknowledge as his defense team, he's a horrible person. He's an abuser or maybe an abuser. So what is the prosecutors trying to prove with the video? Because it doesn't work into their case, right?
Excellent question. And in fact, this is kind of where they landed on their direct examination and what they're going to get into tomorrow. What she stated on testimony is that the beating happened in between sessions. She wanted to go and the beating started. And so what they're trying to suggest with that testimony is that that beating shows evidence of the fact that he physically coerced her to engage in those sex acts with paid escorts. Now, again, on cross-examination, it was interesting because she didn't say he beat me because he wanted me to stay in the room and have sex. So the cross-examination can probably take more of that testimony out of her to show that, hey, this is just happening as a result of another situation that was not related to the sex acts with the male escorts.
And as we say, there are no cameras in the federal courthouse in a case like this. How is Sean Diddy Combs reacting? What has been his response as she is testifying? And plus, they haven't seen each other in 6-7 years.
From the different news outlets, they're stating that Sean Diddy Combs is there. He is being very intent in watching her, observing the testimony, but not being overly reactive. On the other hand, Cassie has made it a point not to look at Diddy. She's been very focused with the prosecutor and giving her testimony, not making any eye contact. But Diddy is not being overly reactive, and that's a good thing because the jury is watching you the entire time, and you don't want to show your hand and do something that the jury might find, oh, you know what, he kind of looks a little guilty right there in reaction to her testimony.